Hello, my name is Barbara, and I am a sobriety coach, recovery coach. And I thought I would just talk to the person who is struggling today. And that could be you. Maybe it's you who's struggling today. Maybe you're struggling with your recovery, your sobriety. Maybe you're struggling with, other problems at home or with family or with friends or with work. Maybe you're just struggling for just no reason. You just woke up feeling kind of strange or weird and you're struggling through the day, through the morning. This is for you. Now, one of the things that I want you to recognize is that as human beings, we struggle. We all have our individual struggles. All of us do. And there's no one on this earth, there's no human being that can tell you that that's not true. If you're poor, you struggle. If you're rich, you struggle. If you're in the middle, you struggle. Struggle does not, have any partiality. Struggle happens with everyone in different ways, different times, different places, for different reasons. So if you're struggling, one of the first things I want you to recognize is that how you approach it, your attitude towards the struggle is what's really important to look at. If your attitude is negative and, stinks or whatever and is just, really just rotten or negative, then that's going to be where you're going to be staying, stuck. So you got to realize that if you can just shift your attitude to a positive attitude, okay? A positive attitude. And that could happen by talking to someone about what's going on with you. That's the first thing. Calling your sponsor, getting in contact with a sobriety coach, recovery coach like me, just so that people can remind you about who you are, about, whatever's going on with you, and maybe give you some suggestions about how they handle things so that you can maybe do something different. But if you don't open your mouth, if you don't seek these people out, they'll never know what's really happening with you or what's going on with you and why you're struggling. Because see, sometimes people think, I don't know why, people do this, but sometimes people think that people can read minds, and we cannot read someone's mind. We have no idea what's going on in someone's thinking, in their head, or anything about them until that person tells what's really happening, until they tell on themselves about what's really going on with them. So I invite you to do that with people you trust. Okay? People you trust. And so if you're struggling, today about anything, the first thing is just tell someone. The second thing is to be gentle with yourself and understand that you're going through a process. Every single day, we all are going through some sort of process, whether it be the sobriety process, whether it be a new job, whether it be, at the old job, whether it be different things that are happening with family, whether it be different things that are happening with loved ones or friends, whether it be just, waking up and, it's too hot or it's too cold or whatever it might be. We're all sort of struggling with something, and we all have things that are going on, okay? And we have this process we're going through, no matter how big or how small it is, okay? So what I'm getting at is the reality of what it means to be a human being. Human beings struggle. Human beings go through processes. We have these things that we go through. And the key thing is, most of the time, if we just ride the storm, think positive, do positive actions, hang out with positive people, and get honest about what's going on with us, then what happens is that we have probably a better chance of getting through this process unscathed. We have a better chance of getting through whatever the struggle is and to the other side of it, okay, much more quicker, and perhaps in the process we learn some things about ourselves, about the situation, or about other people, right? Okay. And the third thing is sometimes it helps to have an activity that gets your mind off of the struggle, something that's positive, with friends or family, whether it be taking a walk, or whether it be just, if the weather's nice, going to the beach, or whether it be going shopping, or what do you call, just people watching, or going to a museum, whatever it is, that's positive and healthy, it could be the difference between you taking your mind off of the struggle for a second and giving yourself a break. Like breathing, right? Like really, just letting yourself breathe and getting some positive, healthy distraction. Not negative, but positive, healthy distractions. That can be helpful. And before you know it, you might have an answer to the struggle that before you couldn't process or think about because you were really smack dab in the middle of it. But now that you've, been out, you've did some activity with some friends, you've, just did something different, you kind of had opportunity to get your thoughts right, to get your mind right. And so, again, we all struggle. The key thing is don't get down on yourself. Don't be negative towards yourself because you're struggling with something. All right? Because there's nobody on this earth that can say that they didn't have a struggle or that they're not struggling with something right now as we speak, right? Right? So, and like I said before, when the struggle is there, think of it as an opportunity. If you can get your mind to just sort of click over and say, okay, wait a minute, I'm struggling here, I don't like it, it makes me feel uncomfortable, but if I allow myself to see this struggle as an opportunity to learn something about myself, about somebody else, or about a situation or whatever it might be, then that's healthy, that's good. See, it's the way that we approach something, the way that we, approach it, the way that we perceive a thing, and our attitude towards it that can shift something, okay? If you see a struggle as, humdrum and, negative and, poor me and, this always happens to me, all that's negative. And where's that going to lead you? Back to the same old, same old. Nothing's changing, nothing's different. But you get into your feelings about struggling. The key thing is to feel your feelings, because we all have feelings. Feel your feelings. Talk about them with somebody else. Get yourself out of where you're at and think about doing something positive with friends or people that that you trust. All right? And to realize your humanness in all of this. In all of this. Sometimes we forget that we're human. I don't know if we think we're supposed to be superhuman, but we're human. And we struggle with things. And we struggle with having a positive attitude. We struggle with, having thinking about things differently, like thinking about that struggle as an opportunity to learn something about ourselves, to do something different. So that's my invitation to you today. If you're struggling, having a hard time, what is the learning from this struggle about yourself, about your environment, where you might be, about, whatever it might be? What are you learning? What's there for the learning? And what can you learn out of it that you can maybe pass on to somebody else that might be struggling with the same thing? That's the positive shift, a positive mindset. Right? Does that make sense? If you found this helpful, then give me a follow, give me a like, but also let me know in the comment section what you thought about what I said. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Barbara, sobriety coach, recovery coach. If you want a consultation, let me know. In the meantime, peace and blessings.